So the final thing I wanted to talk to you about, maybe this should not have been the last thing. Maybe this should have been in the middle, because now my head is somewhere else. But the final thing I wanted to discuss with you guys was it just recently happened. Um, this recently popped up in on Twitter. Um, we now know what the plans are for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in Gaza. So the Washington Post has this exclusive saying, Gaza post-war plan envisions voluntary relocation of entire population. The Trump administration and international partners are discussing proposals to build a Riviera in the Middle East on the rubble of Gaza. One would establish U.S. control and pay Palestinians to leave. So a war crime, basically. The 38-page prospectus seen by the Washington Post envisions at least a temporary relocation of all Gaza's more than 2 million population, either through what it calls voluntary departures to another country or into restricted, secured zones inside the enclave during reconstruction. Those who own land would be offered a digital token by the trust in exchange for rights to redevelop their property, to be used to finance a new life elsewhere, or eventually redeemed for an apartment in one of the 6 to 8 new AI-powered smart cities. Oh, okay, AI. So to be built in Gaza. Each Palestinian who chooses to leave would be given $5,000 cash. My God! $5,000! Not only are there genocidaires, they're cheap genocidaires. The plan estimates that every individual departure from Gaza would save the trust $23,000 compared to the cost of temporary housing. This is Fort Pinto levels of inhumane and dehumanizing. Called the Gaza Reconstruction Economic Acceleration and Transformation Trust, or GRADE. I hate these people so much. The proposal was developed by some of the same Israelis who created and set in motion the GHF, now distributing food in Gaza, and the Boston Consulting Group. Let me get to the interesting parts. So participants included Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Presidential Envoy Steve Witkoff, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, of course, whose views on Gaza's future have been solicited by the administration, and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, who handled much of the president's first-term initiatives in the Middle East. Perhaps most appealing, it purports to require no U.S. government funding and offer significant profit to investors. Oh, great, they're going to invest in genocide. Unlike the controversial and sometimes cash-strapped GHF, unlike the GHF. Instead, it will be financed by public and private sector investment in what it calls mega projects. Oh my God. They want to create you remember that, privatized city in, I think it was Guatemala? That's what they want to create. In January, less than a week before Trump took office, then Secretary of State Blinken presented the Biden administration post-war route to statehood. He called for an interim administration of Gaza overseen by the UN. Trump's February vow to own and redevelop Gaza offered both a green light and a roadmap for the group of Israeli businessmen led by entrepreneur Michael Eisenberg, an Israeli-American, and Liren Tankman, a former Israeli military intelligence officer. They had already handed off the GHF project to implementers and moved on to the post-war problem in consultation with international financial and humanitarian experts and potential government and private investors, as well as some Palestinians, according to people familiar with the planning. Which Palestinians? So it's interesting here because what they're doing is they're putting these think tank minds together, and who did they not talk to? International financial and humanitarian experts, but no lawyers, because this would be illegal. Idiots. By spring, a Washington-based team of Boston Consulting Group, which had separately been hired to work with the primary U.S. contractor setting up the GHF Food Distribution Program, was working on detailed planning and financial modeling for the Great Trust. Eisenberg and Tankman declined to comment for this article. A person familiar with the planning said that the prospectus was completed in April. It's not prescriptive, but it is exploring what is possible. The person said, the people of Gaza need to be enabled to build something new. No, they need to stay in Gaza where they live. Those familiar with the initiative in both Washington and Israel compared it to U.S. trusteeship of Pacific Islands after World War II and the post-war governance of and economic roles played by General Douglas MacArthur in Japan and Secretary of State George C. Marshall in Germany. While the Pacific Trust territories were administered by the United States, the arrangement was approved by the United Nations, whose membership is unlikely, that's an understatement, to agree to a similar relationship with Gaza. But the trust planners maintained that under the customary international law doctrine of uti possidetis, that's great, Latin for as you possess under law, and limits on Palestinian autonomy under the 1993 Oslo Agreement, Israel has administrative control over the occupied territories and the power to give it away. No, it doesn't, because uti possidetis doesn't apply here. Watch my video. No, this is insane. So first of all, trust the sheep and like this idea, this sort of like new mandate that they want to create. This is colonialism, right? What they're doing is they're creating, they're subjecting, they're turning Gaza into a mandatory territory, a mandate territory once again. They're not ready for the burdens of civilization, right? So they need to be placed under the control of a civilized nation, like the country where people shoot preschoolers. I'm so frustrated with the world right now. This is so shit. So this is essentially, I'm sorry, but this is essentially trying to create a new consensus around the status of the Palestinian territory, where what they want to say is that Israel owns it. And they want to create this, like, it's the new neocons, right? They think that they can just come in and with their Boston Consulting Group experts and create a utopia in a land they don't understand, right? It's really, Rosova says the West wants to colonize again, and yeah, I mean, it's not like they stopped, but yeah, this is a lot more brazen now, right? As outlined in the trust document, Israel would transfer administrative authorities and responsibilities in Gaza to the Great Trust under a U.S.-Israel bilateral agreement. Oh, so no Palestinians involved, huh? That would evolve into a formal trust to sheep. The outline foresees eventual investments by Arab and other countries that would turn the arrangement into a multilateral institution. Trump administration officials have dismissed as mere public rhetoric the insistence of Arab governments, particularly the Persian Gulf, that they will only support a post-war plan leading to Palestinian statehood. That's the argument, right? Again, this is all to destroy the idea of a Palestinian state. Israel would maintain overarching rights to meet its security needs. Of course it would, because again, the two-state solution would only mean that Israel would continue to bomb a state. That's it. That's all it means. And in this solution, where there is not even a state, it's just like a colony of the U.S., it would bomb a colony of the U.S. This is all just colonialism. This is how colonialism is done. During the first year of the plan, while nearly all internal security would be provided by unspecified TCN, third country nationals, and Western private military contractors. This is such a stupid plan. Their role would gradually decrease over a decade as trained local police take over. Oh my God, this is such a stupid plan. The trust would govern Gaza for a multi-year period. It estimates it will take 10 years until reformed and de-radicalized by, oh, okay, you're gonna, try to do like some social engineering as well. And to de-radicalize Palestinian polity is ready to step into its shoes. The document makes no reference to eventual Palestinian statehood. The unified Palestinian government entity, it says, will join the Abraham Accords. Trump's first term negotiation. Oh my gosh. How can Gaza join the Abraham Accords? How can the Palestinian governing entity join the Abraham Accords? It's not a state. It doesn't have international personhood. Palestine is a state, not Gaza. This is just so brazen. It's amazing. What they want to do, this is the end of times. This is like, if they pull this off, then we went back to the 19th century. Dino Expertin says Egypt would never accept this. No, but I don't think that they are minding that at all. Like, I'm sorry, this is going to end in war. At some point, this is going to end in war. Anyway, let's look at the stupid plan. So the Great Trust, from a demolished Iranian proxy, demolished. I love the language here. It's demolished. It was demolished. It wasn't, like bombed to the ground, genocided, and ethnically cleansed. It was just demolished, as if it as if that was better. To a prosperous Abrahamic ally. I hate these people so much. Look at this. Look at this stupid ass AI generated ridiculous whatever this is. Like, this is so pathetic. The Great Trust, the Gaza Reconstitution, economic blah blah blah, leading to a reformed Palestinian self-governance, not state. It can start as a U.S.-Israel bilateral agreement, taking control from Israel to the U.S. once Hamas is disarmed, and evolve into a multilateral trusteeship. This is colonialism. This is a colony. What you are selling here is a colony. The goal, a thriving Gaza at the crossroads of a new Abrahamic architecture. Gaza is an Iranian outpost in a moderate part of the region that will threaten IMEC, Abrahamic architecture, and undermine any future Palestinian self-governance. Gaza is a regional trade hub. Oh, of course, you need to include the catchwords like a hub. Well, economy. 10 mega projects. The Gaza infra rebuild. Debris removal, utilities and rebuild. The Abraham Gateway, regional logistics hub in Rafah. Oh my god. Oh, look at this. The Elon Musk smart manufacturing zone. Oh my god. Industrial zones along the Gaza-Israel border, feeding from and the Abrahamic Gateway through the Gaza ring. Look at this. Look at this drawing here. They don't care that there are people already living here, right? They just don't care. Gaza's urban design, fostering stability and quality of life. What the hell? Oh, they're gonna build cities. Oh, okay. I hate this like consultancy group logic. It's so stupid. Palestinians in Gaza don't want a new city that looks like a hexagon or whatever it is that you're doing here. Palestinians in Gaza want the house that they currently have. This is insane. Like Haussmann's strategy in 19th century Paris. You mean the guy who built on top of the demolished parts of Paris? Paris is built on demolished, homes. This makes me so angry. This is an angry, stream today. With large alleys at their center, the cities will be interconnected through a ring, a tram, and a highway, enabling excellent access to industrial, tourism, and logistic areas. I'll refrain from commenting. Why? Look at this. This is so AI, it's pathetic. The image is so pathetic. Goal, create a self-financing and sustaining development fund to reconstruct Gaza and finance humanitarian efforts and development. Okay, sure. Governance framework, a custodianship. At the beginning of the phase, Israel transfers administrative authorities and responsibilities in Gaza to the Great Trust under a bilateral U.S.-Israel agreement. This is unlawful. Israel cannot do this. Israel has no rights to do anything in Gaza. The ICJ has been very clear. Israel's very presence is unlawful. Israel has to just leave Gaza alone. It cannot transfer anything to any trust. It doesn't own Gaza. Israel maintains overarching rights to meet its security needs. Of course it does, because it needs to bomb Palestinians and mow the lawn every few years. This is what they don't understand. You cannot build a utopia on top of a colonial mindset. You cannot build a utopia when what you're going to do is bomb Palestinians every 5 years. Colonialism does not produce utopias, it produces colonies. It dehumanizes people, and it makes people want to rebel. It is an inherently violent process. This is stupid. You cannot tell me simultaneously that you're going to build a utopia that's going to be so much better than anything, Palestinians could build in Palestine, and at the same time tell me that Israel gets to bomb it whenever it wants. This is stupid to a degree of stupidity that can only be corporate thinking. The trust governs Gaza for a transitional period until a reformed and de-radicalized Palestinian polity is ready to step in its shoes. What else? Potentially, Gaza will sign a compact of free association with the trust for long-term financial support in exchange for the trust retaining some plenary. This is the colonization of Gaza by the U.S. and Israel, and then join the Abraham Accords. It cannot, because it is not a state. I love how the GHF is now revealed as the precursor of this monstrosity. This is incredible. This is just colonialism. Yeah, this is all the financial crap now. I can't with the AI stupid things. Oh, they have sponsors with IKEA. Wait, is this for real? Like, they just put their logo here, right? This is not like advanced enough to have IKEA. My God. Oh my God. Assumes all students aged 5 to 14 attend grade school with a student to teacher ratio of 17 students per teacher and 421 students per school. This is sick. Why are you talking about the education of Palestinian children through, I guess, private companies? Blackwater? Where's Blackwater? Oh my God. Tesla, of course, Tesla. AWS, Amazon. Wow. Okay, this is insane. Yeah, so this is basically 21st century colonialism. This is what it is. It is the plan to colonize Gaza and subject it to a mandate by the U.S., a sacred, quote unquote, sacred trust of civilization. Oh, Blackwater has rebranded as Academy. Oh God. So there you have it. We have a plan to colonize Gaza and subject it to U.S. control through a stealing of the land by Israel that would sign a deal with the United States without the involvement of Palestinians. This is ridiculous. This is a pathetic plan. This is a horrible plan. This will never work. You cannot create a utopia that then you tell Israel that you go on bomb it because like security concerns. That doesn't work. It never works. This will never work. No colonizer has ever successfully created this kind of thing. They all think that, oh, we're gonna modernize, oh, we're gonna like civilize, and at the end of the day, they cannot overcome their racism over the colonized, and so they keep them bombed and then keep them in violence. This is horrible. But okay, so wow, okay, that was horrible. Um, guys, it is 6:59, which means, as always, that I need to go cook dinner. So this was a horrible stream, full of horribleness, full of colonialism and death. I am sorry about that. Hopefully there will be other stuff to talk about soon enough.